The TalkSport Fan Network.
The ultimate on-demand destination for the UK's best fan-led football podcasts.
Want authentic supporter insight on all things Bournemouth? Follow Up the Cherries in all departments on the TalkSport Fan Network.
Club-dedicated content created by the fans, for the fans.
Search TalkSport Fan Network.
Hello, Cherries fans, and welcome back to Up the Cherries in all departments. And before I introduce our guest for this show, don't forget our main sponsors, Dental on the Banks, and here's a little bit about them now. For more info on what they can do for you, visit dentalonthebanks.co.uk. And also, just a shout out to our secondary sponsor, Touchpoint Telecoms. For all your business telecom needs, visit touchpointtelecoms.co.uk. So now it's time to bring in our guest, which is this week, as I'm sure you'll guess by the thumbnail, is the only man to ever hit the back of the net for Bournemouth at Wembley. And that is, of course, John Bailey. Hello, John, and welcome to Up the Cherries in all departments. How you doing?
Good, thanks, Matt. You?
Yeah, all good. Pleasure to have you on.
Thank you. My pleasure too.
Yeah, excellent. First question, just to sort of get to maybe just a bit from years gone by. What was your sort of earliest football memory when you were sort of growing up?
Oh, what you mean before Bournemouth? You mean?
Yeah, before Bournemouth, like when you were growing up, as a youngster.
Probably playing for my school actually.
Yeah,
I went to a school in Brixton Hill called Corpus Christi. I was actually a centre forward then. Used to score about 100 goals a season. And that's true. I did. I scored about 100 goals for 2 seasons. And then when I left there, when I went to secondary school, I went for a trial, as you do as in secondary school, and they had a lot of really good players. And of course, they had a lot of centre forwards there. So I sort of lost my bottle a bit and said I was a midfielder. Yeah.
Ah, right. Yeah. Who would have thought you're a striker when you started off?
Yeah.
But, just very quickly, who were your footballing heroes before we crack on with Bournemouth?
Oh, Glenn Hoddle.
Glenn Hoddle.
Yeah, love Glenn Hoddle. King of White Hart Lane.
King of White Hart Lane.
Yeah.
Bet they could do with a bit of Glenn Hoddle right now, to be honest, couldn't they? But
easy.
Yeah, I know you're a Spurs fan.
Yeah.
You was it last season? You were at Dean Court, or the season before, and they asked you at half time. You supported you there to support Spurs on the day, weren't you?
Well, I was actually guest speaker last year, and I think I upset a few Bournemouth supporters actually, because they asked me before the game what the score would be, and I said upstairs I said it would be 3-1 to Tottenham, and downstairs I said it would be 2-0, and didn't go down too well with a few supporters on social media.
Yeah, I'm sure it did, and I'm sure
don't have him back. Some of them said.
Oh, I did. Yeah, I'm not very big on the old social media myself, but yeah, I can imagine, definitely. So before Bournemouth, obviously you started in non-league football. I believe Croydon, is that right? Was your first club?
Yeah, I started off at Croydon from the age of 16, I think, until I was 19. I think it might have been, and then
19.
then from there, I was sold to Dagenham
Right.
for £1,500.
Right. Okay.
Yeah.
Dagenham. Okay. So was that before Enfield then?
Yeah. So what happened was, so I played for Dagenham, but we shared the ground with Redbridge.
Right.
And I don't know the full story of it, but they merged, and then they became obviously Dagenham and Redbridge. And the players that played for Dagenham, John Steele at the time, he was manager, he only wanted to keep 2 players, and I was one of them. But he didn't offer me a lot of money to go in to play for in the conference. So I phoned the PFA up, and they said, "Oh, you're a free agent because you're the lesser club that have merged. You're now a free agent." So I think at the time, Ted Hardy, I think, was there at Dagenham, and he sort of suggested I went to Enfield and phoned up their manager, who's Eddie McCluskey, and he phoned me up, and I went to Enfield in the end.
Right. Okay. I didn't actually know that bit. Actually, I've done a bit of research, but yeah, I wasn't aware of that step at Dagenham there. But while you were in the non-league, obviously with the FA Cup going on this sort of weekend, obviously no non-league sides are known for like giant killing. Were you involved in any FA Cup games at either of those clubs? And
Well, I
played
was actually. Yes. So one year we got to the third round, and we played Leicester.
Oh, right.
But in the second round, I got injured. Sorry, in the first round, the first round I got injured against Cardiff in the first game, and then we drew 1-1, and then we had to play. We had a replay, and we beat them 1-0, and then we played Torquay up at their place and beat them 1-0 as well. So you could call them giant killings. They were at the time. And then we lost to Leicester when they were playing at Filbert Street. I think it was 3-0.
Right.
Oh, no, 2-0. It might have been 2-0 actually, 2-0. And I just come back from injury then, so I was only on the bench. But yeah, we did have some great cup runs.
Yeah, sure. It was a great experience. But obviously, while at Enfield, you attracted the attention from Bournemouth. But before we move on to Bournemouth, was there any other sort of pro clubs after your services at the time?
Well, when I was at Dagenham, I did go for trials at Charlton and Millwall.
Right.
Yeah, so I say trials. I didn't actually play any games, trial games. It was just training, and yeah, to say it was a big eye opener is an understatement, because I used to think I was quite fast, and when I went training, it was just right eye opener. I came last in everything, so yeah, I didn't get chosen.
Bit of an eye opener then.
Yeah.
But I believe there's a bit of a story, isn't there, when Mel Machin at Bournemouth made contact with you, obviously expressing his interest to sign you. There's a bit of a story behind that one, isn't there?
Yeah, it's quite funny actually, because we had a Northern player playing for us called Paul Hobson, and it was Mel actually phoned me. So Mel phoned me up, and he sort of went, and I'll try his accent actually. He went, "Hello, son, how are you doing?" And I was like, "What's the matter, Paul?" And he went, "No, son, it's Mel Machin." And I went, "Mel Machin?" I said, "Paul, stop messing about." He went, "Son, listen, it's Mel Machin. I want to sign you." And I went, "Oh, fuck off, Paul." And I put the phone down. And then he phoned me back up and he said, "Son, look, here's my number. Call it." And so I took the number, called it, and a woman answered saying, "Hello, AFC Bournemouth." And I was like, "Oh my God, I could not believe it. I just told him to fuck off." So yeah, it didn't start very well.
Well, yeah, I mean, how things could have been so different if you'd taken that seriously. So when you first arrived at Bournemouth, what was your first impressions of not only the club itself, but the town?
Oh, I loved well, the thing was, so Enfield had won the league that year, and our end of season do was in Bournemouth.
Oh,
so
right.
when Mel said, "Would you come and have a chat with me?" I said to him, "Look, I'm actually in Bournemouth next week," and he said, "Well, come down and have a chat with us." So I left the end of season do, went down to Bournemouth, and he wasn't there. It was the old chairman. I forget his name now.
Oh, Ken Gardner.
Ken Gardner, that's it. Yeah. He was he showed me round, showed me all what they had, what they were going to do with the ground and all the stuff like that. And so Mel, I didn't actually see Mel that day.
Ah, right. Okay. But pretty impressed with the town and the setup at the club then at the time.
I've got to be honest, the club, yeah, I mean, what he had to say, yeah, it was, but when you actually sort of went behind the scenes there, like the changing rooms and it was very basic, very basic.
Yeah, definitely seen it stay by the time you were there, isn't it? Really, and yeah, definitely. So in terms of training from non-league to professional, how different was the training under Mel in comparison to non-league?
Well, the pre-season training was I struggled when I first obviously went there because it was hard, really hard. But the training, I mean, you couldn't really call it training. You honestly, we played a game. So if I go from a Saturday back round to the next Saturday, we had training on a Saturday. Obviously, Sunday off. Monday we would go into the club, meet at the club, get the minibus down to Boscombe Beach, and then we'd run from Boscombe Beach to Bournemouth Beach, have a cup of coffee on the we'd have a cup of coffee, and then we'd get back in the coach or in the minibus and drive back to the ground. That was Monday. So that was Monday's training. Tuesday we had a game, and then Wednesday we'd have off. And then Thursday would be the only day we really trained. So we'd go through set pieces, pattern play, and then Friday it was just a warmed out. It was nothing. It was just a little, bit of light training, and back to Saturday again. So it wasn't much.
Yeah. So it wasn't much apart from the pre-season. There's not much difference really between.
Oh no, we probably did more at Enfield than I did at Bournemouth.
Well, that's interesting to hear.
Yeah, because we only had 2 nights. If we didn't have a game during the week playing non-league, you'd have 2 nights training, and you would run. You'd literally, it was just running in those days.
Yeah,
you didn't do much set plays or anything like that. It was
not too much tactical, more sort of fairly basic from the sounds of it. But I mean, how would you rate your relationship with Mel yourself? And was there any sort of players at the club at the time you might have not been overly keen on, or any hair dryer treatment off him, anything like that?
I could name so many I didn't get on with. But my first memory with Mel, I mean, at first, no, Mel and I didn't get on, and it wasn't because he didn't like me at first. It was, so we had a pre-season games over at the Isle of Wight, and I'll never forget, we went over there, we played Bristol Rovers in one of the games, and I was injured, and I went to see Steve Hardwick, and I said to him, Steve, I don't feel right. I've got a bit of a thigh. And he said, you better play, because I haven't told Mel that you're injured. So I ended up going out there. So this is my probably second game that I'd played, and it was a pre-season friendly. And someone kicked the ball past me. They run past me, and I couldn't run. I was sort of jogging, and they scored. And then at full time, Mel let me have it. He absolutely slaughtered me in the change room. And he said to me, he was going right at me, and I was sort of sitting there, and I just shook my head like that. And that was it. He was frothing. He was frothing at the mouth. And he said, right, son, when we get back, you pack your stuff and you go back to non-league football. You'll never kick a ball for me. And I was absolutely devastated because I thought he was serious. So on the Monday morning, behind the changing rooms at their football club, they had a really narrow hallway where you could just about pass each other. And I remember walking down and I saw him and I thought, oh no, this is before training. And I thought, oh no, he's going to really hammer me again. So as I was walking down, he sort of stopped, put his arm around me. He said, all right, son, how are you doing? How was your weekend? And I was like, this is weird. So he'd gone from telling me I'd never play football again to asking me how my weekend went. Yeah. So, yeah. Going back to the players, what the players were like. It was very cliquey when I was there. I mean, we had some really good lads, but we also had a few that weren't so good. Mainly the French lads. I didn't get on with any of the French lads.
Yeah,
there was a real clique there with the French lads.
Yeah, the likes of I'm trying to remember now. Got obviously Frank Rowling,
Huck.
Yeah, Willie Huck.
Then you had Bolly.
Yeah, Roger Bolly. Yeah.
Who else was there? I think it was 4 or 5 of them.
Was it Mohammed Bertha?
Yes. Oh, yes. Sorry, he was another one. I hated him. He was a big lad. He had me up in training one time by the neck. He was like,
oh really?
Yeah, we didn't get on.
Yeah, he's a big lad.
Yeah,
big lad.
He's a big lad.
Was there any sort of like, you think any that Mel had a real dislike to, or was it kind of always a bit of love-hate with Mel?
I think as long as you didn't answer Mel back, as long as you went, because it's Fletch, Scott Mean, Steve Robinson, to name 3. I mean, if you didn't do something right and he was having a go at you, you had to just sit there. You literally had to just sit there and take it. You could not say anything to him, otherwise that was it. We played Walsall away and they beat us 3-0. And Rob Murray was centre half. And after the game, Mel really laid into him, blamed him for, I think, a couple of the goals. And then all of a sudden, Rob Murray just, oh my God, it was shouting and screaming at Mel, saying, you're all this. And that was it. He never played again. That was his last game for the club. Wow. Never played again. Yeah.
Yeah.
So you didn't mess around with Mel. If you was one of his golden boys, like in the the starting 11, I think there was about 12 or 13 of us who Mel loved, and the rest, he was a bit, not nice too.
Yeah. I mean, I was at an evening with Steve Fletcher last week, and he was saying about Mel had some of his favourites, and he was pointing at the likes of Eddie Howe and Coxey being his 2
Eddie, Coxey, and Matt Holland. Rio, when he was there, Rio Ferdinand, absolutely loved him. The ones that got the most stick was Dave Town. Do you remember Dave Town?
Oh yeah, Dave Town, Towner. Yeah.
I mean, in training, what a player. He was the best finisher at the club. He was unbelievable in training. And then come to the games, Mel only had to say Towner, and he would just go in his shell. And yeah,
because he was always on the fringes, wasn't he, Towner? He was always sort of.
He was, yeah.
And well, from what I can remember, I mean, I was only probably about 13 at the time, 12, 13 at the time. But I always thought Dave Town looked pretty decent player. But
oh no, he was a really good player. But Mel ruined him.
Ah, right. So.
Yeah, he did. Yeah.
There's me just thinking he didn't make the grade, and there's a little bit of inside knowledge there. Yeah. So just keeping with the theme with Mel for a little bit. How did you get on with his staff? So obviously at the time he had Willow as assistant, if I remember rightly. Steve Hardrick.
Yes, Steve Hardrick.
I think O'Driscoll was the youth coach at the time, wasn't he?
Yeah. Driss was the youth coach then. Yeah.
So how did you get on with those guys? Was
I
anyone
got on pretty well with all of them. I had a couple of run-ins with Willow, but no, Willow was brilliant. Steve Hardwick was useless. He just didn't care. I mean, yeah. Do you know what? I think if we'd have had a decent physio, I honestly do believe that I would have carried on playing football.
Wow. That's a big statement. Yeah.
Steve did nothing really for me, just sent me to London for injections, and he didn't do much. But then again, saying that, I think because the money situation with the club, I didn't get many scans or anything like that when I had a bad back. So I was literally, Steve was looking at me sort of blind, really, not knowing the exact problem that I had.
Okay. Yeah, no, fair. That's fair enough. Fair point. So Driscoll, did he get much involved in the first team, or was he just purely youth team at the time?
He sort of got him more involved when I was injured my last year.
Right.
Yeah, he took over. So I don't know much about Driss. I just know everyone hated his training. That's all I
know. So while at Bournemouth, who was your best mate? Who did you used to room with on away days?
Youngie was my roomie. Yeah, love Youngie. Youngie, and then I was in digs for 9 months with Robbo.
Oh right, okay.
Yeah, that was interesting.
Interesting, I'm sure.
Yeah.
I'm sure. So it possibly might have been Robbo, but who was sort of like the party animals and the jokers in the changing room while you were there?
Oh, party animal! You got to go Fletch, haven't you?
I thought you were going to say that.
First year I was there, bless him. He got injured after. I think he got injured after 2 games. I think we played Luton away in the Littlewoods Cup, whatever it was called then. He got injured, and then he was injured the whole season, I think. So if there was any other people going out, it would be Fletch. Youngie was a big drinker then as well. Scott Mean when he was first there. Who else there? Rob Murray. There was quite a few of them who liked to drink, liked to go out.
Yeah. I definitely thought you were going to say Fletch there, but so with all the players you played with at Dean Court, was there any that you played with that you thought, that kid, he's definitely going to make top level within the game?
I would say Matt Holland. Yeah, if anyone, Matt. I think he went on to play for Ipswich, didn't he, in the Premier League?
Yeah.
But you always knew there was a couple of them who would go further, like Robbo.
Yeah.
Coxey, he went to Burnley. Robbo went to Preston. But it was we weren't. Didn't have any sort of stars.
Yeah, not many that you thought would make it at top level. Yeah, obviously Matty Holland did, didn't he? When like you say, Ipswich, Charlton, played at the World Cup.
Charlton, yeah. I mean, he was golden balls when he was there.
Yeah, I can imagine.
Mel absolutely loved him.
Yeah.
Absolutely loved him.
Do you remember? I think he was pretty young when he made him captain as well, wasn't he? If I remember rightly, I think he was still quite young, wasn't he, when he was made captain? So I always
wasn't, to be honest with you, Matt wasn't really to me. He wasn't really a captain. I think it was the way he trained and the way he didn't drink. He didn't, he was a proper professional.
Yeah.
You couldn't get more professional than Matty at the time. So I think it was just the way he sort of held himself. That's why Mel made him captain, because he never did any sort of screaming or shouting, or he never sort of got everyone going or anything like that.
Yeah. Okay, so kind of because he led by example, I suppose, off the pitch, things like that. Yeah. Touched on Rio slightly, but obviously you played with some I mean, fairly decent players that came on loan. I mean, I can remember, is it George Nadar come on loan from
Yeah,
Wall?
George Nadar, yeah, he came on loan.
And Michael Dewberry.
Dewberry, yeah, he was the same time as Rio, actually.
Was he?
Yeah,
Right.
yeah, they both played together for a few games. Yeah.
Right, okay. Because did you did they train any different to like what you guys were training? Was there? Could you see a real difference between the different like
Yeah,
Premier League
definitely.
and
Yeah,
you
yeah,
guys?
oh God, yeah, definitely with Rio and Dewberry. Yeah, they were really good players at the time.
So I think if I remember right, I think I read Rio's book somewhere, and I think Mel just calls him class, and he was that. It's just not Rio or 30 or nothing like that. It was pure like class.
Yeah, and he was only 18 at the time. I think he was 18 or 19 when he came to us on loan.
Yeah, very young, wasn't he? And then not long after, he was in the West Ham first team, wasn't he?
Yeah. He used to live literally about 20 minutes from me. So I'd pick him up on the Monday if you know, if he didn't get the train down. So I'd pick him up, and then after games on a Saturday, I would drop him home.
Right.
Yeah, he used to lock the doors as well when I went through his estate, dropping him home. God, where he lived, gosh.
Yeah. Wow.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Second estate or something like it was. I can't remember. Yeah, what the estate was called, but it was rough. Yeah, it was rough.
I mean, I think he had some nights out with Jason Brissett as well. I think I've read that they used to go out in Brissett's BMW and troll outside the nightclubs and things like
that. No, I know. I've got a couple of great stories about Jason that I couldn't tell, but me and Jason, we didn't get on either. Jason and I.
No.
Yeah, no. Me and Jason, no. And we used to travel. So one day I'd meet him at somewhere in London, pick him up, take him to the club, and then drop him off afterwards. And then he'd meet me somewhere, pick me up. And sometimes we wouldn't even speak in the car.
Wow.
Because we'd had an argument during the week. Because he used to really wind me up, because he used to be in the team all the time. And when Mel used to name the team on a Saturday or whenever he did, I'd be sitting there and he'd be sitting opposite me, and he'd be looking at me and he'd be laughing behind Mel's back, and yeah, it'd really, really wind me up.
Yeah, because him and Mel had a bit of a funny relationship as well, didn't they? I think.
Mel loved Jason.
Oh, did he?
Oh, Mel loved Jason, but because at the time we were playing sort of like a 4-3-1-2. So it'd be 4-3 in midfield, and then you'd have Jason Brissett on the left, and then you'd have Robbo and say Scotty and me on the right. But I would sort of play, instead of playing as a right winger, I played as a sort of central midfielder, right midfielder, and basically it was get the ball to Jason. But the thing with Jason, he had no interest in football whatsoever. It was all he was interested in was going out, getting girls and nightclubs and drink and money, and he didn't care about football. So he played sort of, he was about one every sort of 7 games. He'd be really, really good, and he just wasn't consistent enough. I think that's why I think Mel let him go in the end, because he just wasn't consistent enough. But on his day, Jason was brilliant.
Yeah, wow. I always thought he had a bit of a turbulent relationship with Mel, but that's an eye opener. But so kind of when you were playing, I think around that time, I had my season ticket in the old newsstand, the little thin stand along the side. You had the seating stand opposite, and the south end, and the thin one. So I used to have a great view of yourself and Youngie doing your overlaps, and you're attacking on the right hand side there. And how would you rate your partnership with Youngie, and how did you rate him as a player, as a right back?
I'm not just saying this. I'm not trying to sort of blow smoke up his arse or mine, but I don't think there was a better, partnership than us. I don't think much sort of got down our side. If I didn't stop them, then Youngie would stop them. And when we lost the ball, I always played sort of like a right back, sort of getting back and getting forwards. So I think we were probably one of the best partnerships in the league at that time.
Yeah, no, I definitely agree with that. Did the partnership kind of develop on the pitch, or was there any of that developed sort of in training, or is it just all purely on the pitch? You kind of clicked.
I think just because Youngie and I were really sort of close, we obviously went out together. We roomed on away games. We did have our arguments though on the pitch and in training. I mean, I used to stop training sometimes and say, Mel, you've got to tell him he's got to pass me the ball. So I'm the one. Honestly, he used to get more crosses in than what I did. He used to overlap me, and I used to think, bloody hell, I've got. And I literally, we'd be in training, I'd be like swearing and saying to Mel, you've got to tell him to pass to me. And we had a funny relationship, but a really good one.
Yeah, no, you could definitely see that. I mean, on the pitch, but I think during your first season, I think Eddie Howe made his debut in the side. I think it was Boxing Day. I think Boxing Day '96. I think it was the whole game at home.
Yes, it was.
And I think
we won 2-0.
Yeah, and I think he played right back that day. Actually,
I do remember it vaguely. I remember it because he made his debut that day.
Yeah. But did you think at the time that he was, a class player, or did you?
Yeah, he was another Matty Holland, really. See how professional he was. He, training, and you could always tell there was something there. But as a manager, no. If you do, all those players in the change room at that time, if you'd have gone round the change room, he would have been the last person you would have said he's going to be a manager one day.
Definitely surprised a lot of people then.
Definitely.
Change room. Yeah. Mel added, I think he added a player coach, didn't he? Sort of around that time, maybe the season after. I don't know if you remember much about him.
Dale Gordon. Dale Gordon.
Yeah. I mean, I was always quite miffed by it because he kind of was there one minute and then gone the next.
Yeah, because I think they had sort of Norwich connections, didn't they?
Yes, that's right. Yeah.
Yeah. But Dale Gordon, he was brilliant.
Yeah.
Not on the pitch, off the pitch.
Yeah.
They used to, what did they call him? I forget what they used to call him. But anyway, he loved a night out.
Oh, right.
Honestly, he'd go out and literally he'd be buying bottles and bottles of champagne, getting everyone to come over. All the women, he loved the attention of the women. He was a really funny guy, actually. Really, really nice guy, funny guy. But I think his legs had gone when Mel signed him. Yeah, I think he only played a few games, if I can remember.
Yeah. I mean, from what I can remember, it was only probably a handful of games.
Yeah.
But, was it just kind of like he just was released? Was he, or because
I think he retired after that. I don't think he played again after that. I'm sure he had bad knees. He had 2 bad knees. So I think after that, he retired.
Right. I always wondered what happened to him because, like I say, he was there kind of 1 minute, and then all of a sudden he just sort of disappeared. And
he wasn't that good. He was a great player in his time, but when he came to us, he was finished. But really nice guy.
Right. Yeah. So I'm glad you've managed to give us an answer on that one. Obviously, you can't talk about Bournemouth in that era without obviously talking about the long list of financial problems that the club had at the time. As players, were you kind of potentially worried about what was going to happen? Like the worst may happen, for example. Going out of business.
At first, I was, yes, and then so Jamie Vincent's dad was friends with the Millwall chairman. I forget his name now.
That's not the guy from Dragon's Den, is it?
If you named him, I'd know it if you said his name. But
Theo
anyway,
somebody? Theo?
Yes, that's it. Yeah.
I can't pronounce his surname. That's it. Yeah.
Well, anyway, they obviously knew that what sort of trouble we were in, and said to Jamie's dad, if they leave, if they get a chance to leave, we'll have them both. So Jamie and me. And at the time, I was thinking, bloody hell, I'd love to go to Millwall if it all went wrong at Bournemouth, because most of my friends supported Millwall, and I was sort of like half a Millwall supporter. So yeah, I was obviously worried at first, because was it my second season? Or was it first?
It would have been your second season.
Season. Yeah. So yeah, I was worried in a way, but it was nice to know that I had interest from someone else, to fall back on.
And obviously around that time, there was the night at the Winter Gardens. I mean, I can vaguely remember it, but I mean,
yeah, me too. I can vaguely remember it actually.
Yeah, I mean, it was quite a night. I mean, did you kind of see some sort of hope from that night that the club would be saved? And obviously, we know what happened with Trevor Watkins and the trust fund and things like that. But did that night kind of give like you and the squad like hope that it would survive?
I don't think it really dawned on us really what was going on. I think we just, we were told to be there, hold the buckets, and if I'm honest, it was just a bit of fun. Really, just felt like it was a bit of fun, doing that. We were supporters.
Yeah. Okay. You've mentioned Millwall, and if I'm right with my research, my memory, didn't you score against Millwall?
I did, yeah.
Was that like because obviously you kind of half supported Millwall anyway, and a lot of your friends supported Millwall? Was that a good feeling to score against them?
It was really good, because I had all my friends there, and they were singing a song about me, and everyone sort of joined in. It was really bizarre, and so when I scored, it actually took a little deflection and went in, and I sort of run up to the corner flag, picked it up, and kissed the flag. So that was a really special day. That was up there with Wembley, actually.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Right, that is interesting. Well, obviously you've mentioned the goal, obviously that you're still famous for. So, obviously we crack on with the Wembley stuff now. So, obviously that season lives long in the memory of all Bournemouth fans. The 34,000 of us that went up that day.
Yeah.
What can you remember from the games that kind of got us to the final? Can you remember the run-in or any of that?
I can only remember the two Warsaw games.
Yeah, because I do have a run up to the final. So obviously we beat Orient first. Bristol City we beat as well. Jamie Vincent scored. I think it was a free kick. But I think Bristol City were quite high up in the league at that point, and doing pretty well. Then we beat Luton that was when Frank Rowland started to score the goals. And then it was the two Walsall games, which followed from that, because obviously we had a bye in the first round.
Yes, I can't remember. Honestly, I can't remember any of those games.
Yeah.
The only two I can remember, obviously, is Warsaw.
Yeah. So the Walsall games. I mean, the first game, I think we won it quite convincingly up there.
We did. 2-0. Russell Beersmore scored an absolute screamer from about 30 yards for the second goal.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah, and we thought we were there, actually.
We thought it was job done.
We thought job done. Yeah. Yeah, that second leg was, it was, I'll never forget that.
Yeah. It was
just 2-0 up, and then all of a sudden they scored 2, and it was like, that's it, we're done.
Yeah.
No Wembley.
Yeah.
I think Frank was it Frank Rowling scored or Youngie?
Was there? I know did he score in that game?
Okay. Yes.
That's right. Yeah, he did score the second goal, which saw us across the line, didn't it? But yeah, Youngie's unfortunately was down as an own goal, because I do remember it. He kind of hit it and it kind of deflected off the player's shin and went in, if I remember right.
Do you know what? I've always thought it was Youngie that scored the goal.
Yeah.
It went down as an own goal.
Yeah, it was credited as an own goal. So unfortunately, considering Youngie only scored about 2 or 3 goals in his career, it looked like he was robbed of one there. But no, it was an own goal on that one. But
that was. I remember final whistle. I actually got man of the match for that game.
Oh, did you?
Yes, I did. Yeah, but I remember final whistle. Coxie and I didn't manage to get off the pitch, and we were on the pitch. I mean, we didn't know what was going on around us, where everyone else was. We just thought they was on the pitch with us. And so we're having the times of our life out with the fans. And then when we eventually got into the changing rooms, we sort of kicked the door open, the changing room door, and it was dead silent. And Mel was in there screaming at everyone. And Cox and I just walked in. I walked in, I was like, I didn't know what the hell was going on. And I sat down and honestly, it was really weird. We just got to the final and Mel was absolutely hammering everybody. And it weren't until we burst through the door and sat down that he sort of started laughing. And everyone was, it was a weird celebration at first.
Wow. Yeah, I'd have thought he would have obviously, been celebrating, in the changing room, and there he is giving everybody a bollocking. So yeah, like you say, the big pitch invasion after obviously the final whistle and everything, and then the whole town was kind of buzzing, and there was quite a bit of extra media attention, I think, for a while, wasn't there?
Yes, there was quite a bit actually. Yeah, there was quite a bit.
How did you guys deal with that, and the reaction from the fan base, because the town was absolutely buzzing?
Do you know what? I can't remember too much. The only sort of thing I can remember is when we did the song.
Oh, Staying Alive.
Yeah. Cherries Alive. That was a memory that will stick with me when we all went to do our little bit in the studio in Bournemouth somewhere. That was the build up to it, the build up with all the press and all the interviews. I mean, that was brilliant. Yeah.
It must have felt real like a bit like Premier League, I suppose, for a couple of weeks down there.
It did, yeah. We felt like we'd made it. Well, I did anyway, because I'd come from non-league. It was it was brilliant.
Yeah, magical moments. But now you've mentioned it, the Cherries Alive song. I mean, how did that actually come about? Because all I can remember is hearing Fletch. Obviously, there's a surprise. Fletch having his solo, and I think Robbo sung as well, didn't he? And yourself.
So did I, and so did Coxie.
Yeah. How did that come about? Whose idea was that?
We volunteered.
Ah, right.
So they asked us who wanted to do something, and I just said, The thing was, Fletch. It's funny because Fletch probably, if you asked him this question, he probably wouldn't tell you the truth. But what happened? We did the recording, and then the next day, Fletch went back to the recording studio and said to the guy, "Can I do my bit again?" So he actually did his bit again. I don't know if he's told you that.
No, I've not heard that. So
no, he weren't happy with his cameo, so he went back and re-recorded it.
Well, I would say I'm surprised, but no, you can't be with Fletch.
Typical Fletch,
typical Fletch. But the day before the final, you managed to get to Wembley and the squad walking around on the pitch. What kind of feelings was there the day before? Actually being on the pitch in that empty stadium, knowing the next day you're going to be playing there. What kind of feelings and emotions was there amongst the squad?
It's hard to. Growing up, when you're growing up, everyone wants to play at Wembley. I mean, obviously, you'd rather it be the FA Cup, but just it felt huge. When there's no one in that stadium, it feels massive. really well. That stadium did anyway. Yeah, it was. It was brilliant going there the day before.
Yeah, because I do remember seeing some news footage of you guys all walking around the pitch, and I think probably Meridian at the time. I think it's actually included on the VHS that the club released the season after. I think they released the whole game and the footage beforehand, and I think it was on there. But yeah, it was it must have been a magical moment to walk out there and see that that pitch. But the game, the day of the game, obviously. The team talk, the preparation for Mel, was there anything different, or was it just all the same?
All the same.
Same job that we've done all season.
Yeah, just all the same. Yeah,
all the same.
I mean, we stayed in a hotel a few miles away from the stadium, and the journey there, that was special as well, because we was driving past all the cars, the coaches. They all had their flags out, and yeah, that was special as well. And then when we got to the stadium, well, we couldn't even get through the crowds.
Yeah. Just I can just remember coming off the tube, walking down Wembley Way with my dad and my brother, and just seeing a whole sea of red and black and white and black. Just all the Grimsby fans looking up. It was just a great day for both clubs, obviously. But the game started, and how did you think we were doing to start with? Do you think we were on top, or do you think
they were a really good side, Grimsby, that year? I think they went up in the playoffs that year as well, I think.
Yeah.
So they got there twice. They were a really good side. We didn't play well that day. Yeah, we didn't play well at all. I got man of the match that day as well, actually. Yeah. No, we didn't do ourselves justice that day. We I think we froze a bit. Yeah.
Yeah.
And it wasn't a very I've watched it obviously back once or twice. We didn't play well.
No,
I was surprised I got man of the match, actually. I think I only touched the ball about 6 times. Don't think I touched it that much.
Yeah. It's the big moment for obviously the goal at Wembley. Obviously, to date, you are still the only AFC Bournemouth goal scorer at Wembley. Can you talk us through the emotions when the ball hit the net? Can you remember any of it? Was it just craziness, or
it was crazy, because the thing was, the week before the final, you had all the players sort of doing their celebrations if they scored, what they would do, and all this. And I obviously didn't get involved because I think I only scored 2 goals that year. So I didn't get involved. There was about 5 or 6 of them who was, doing their celebrations, and when I scored, it just felt like the whole stadium went quiet. I just couldn't hear anything. I just started running. I didn't even know what I was doing, and then I just did this. I did the stupid little dance that they was all practicing the week before, and it didn't go too well.
No, I just like I said, I can still remember the day pretty well, and obviously you scoring, but obviously Grimsby's equaliser, which was credited as an own goal as well to Jimmy Glass. I think he's the first goalkeeper at Wembley to actually be credited with an own goal, I believe. So he's famous for 2 types of goals. Is Jimmy.
Well, when you speak to him, he's quite happy with that.
I'm sure
he's credited with the goal.
I'm sure he is.
Yeah, watching it back, actually, I actually felt like it was a bit my fault, actually.
Oh, right, okay.
I was at the far post with the guy. I sort of did a bit of ball watching.
I think it was it Kingsley Black?
Yeah, Kingsley Black, yeah.
Yeah, who I think he had a good career at Forest at one point, didn't he? Before
I think it had Luton as well. Was it Luton
as well? Someone like that. Yeah. All I remember was my dad saying when he was coming on as a substitute, because I think he was substitute that day, that's the last thing we want coming on the pitch, because he was quite a good player, and knew where the net was. Obviously, and that cruel golden goal. I think that was the only year golden goal was actually used, I think, wasn't it?
It was Eddie's fault as well.
Yeah. Well, this is the thing. I've seen Jimmy say it was Coxey's fault. Coxey says it was Jimmy's fault. Eddie says it was Jimmy's fault. I think they seem to blame each other.
I always blame Eddie because they put a cross in the box and he could have just quite easily trapped it and passed out or kicked it away. But he did this stupid diving header, didn't he? And it come off the side of his stupid curtains and went out for a corner. And they scored from the corner.
Yeah, which I think he just kind of stretched his boot out, if I remember rightly, didn't he? And it just sort of went in.
Yeah, Robbo's fault that was.
Yeah,
weren't picking him up.
Yeah, it wasn't a great goal, but what was the disappointment like? It's probably quite obvious, but what was the disappointment like when Grimsby lifted the trophy and we were going away with the runners-up medals?
Do you know what, Matt? I didn't feel any disappointment whatsoever. And that's the truth. I didn't. I just scored at Wembley. If it was a promotion, maybe might have. But I think to all of us then, it was just a day out for everyone.
Yeah.
Because it was a cup. That they were favourites to win. We had nothing to lose. And, yeah. I mean, I was obviously gutted we lost. But, yeah, for me, I just scored at Wembley. And we went back to the hotel, had a disco. And I think I was the only one smiling all night. But yeah.
I mean, I think that's a fair enough comment, really, isn't it? I mean, from the fans' perspective, it was kind of like a celebration of a day out, because they not have had a club the year previous. So, I mean, it was a good kind of celebration of the survival of the club as well. It's kind of how I think some of us see it. But the quality of players that were in that squad, do you think you underachieved as a side that should have got promoted? Because there was some good quality there.
Yeah, we did. I think the year we played Wrexham last game of the season, we were in the top 6 the whole season. Yes. And then the last game of the season was all we needed to do was win.
Yeah.
And we drew 0-0, and I think Wigan won 2-1 to go to nip us the final game of the season. That was more gutting than the Wembley final. We were absolutely devastated for that. Yeah, that was gutting.
So I think that side would have gone up in the playoffs. But yeah, like you say, I do remember that game quite vividly. Just all you players walking off with kind of your hands in your head, unbelievable. I think actually it was just one of those games where the ball just wouldn't go in the net for Bournemouth, if I remember rightly. It was quite a frustrating afternoon.
Do you know what? You saying that, Matt? Me vaguely can remember us not even having a shot on goal.
Was it like that? Was it? Maybe it was like that.
I can just remember thinking we just didn't perform that day. We were we were shocking.
Yeah, frustrating day.
Yeah, it was.
The following season, injury sort of took over for you, didn't it?
Yes, yeah. That was that was stupid. That was. I was playing head tennis in the car park. Me, Fletch, Youngie, there's about 4 or 5, 6 of us. I don't know, a few of us, and we used the fencing that they keep the crowds away, and we put them together as a net. I was on Fletcher's side. He headed a ball to me, and I was sort of walking backwards, and I was going to sort of like just head it over the net, the fence, and I actually fell on the fence, and I fell on top of it, and the fence fell over. And I felt something go in my back. Yeah. And then I think that was on the Thursday, I think. And on the Friday we travelled up to, I want to say Oldham, I think it was. And I said to Steve on the way up there, on the coach, I said, Steve, my back is absolutely killing me. And he was going, well, you can't do anything about it now. You've travelled. You've got to play. And I said, Steve, I'm telling you, I can't play. He said, you go and see Mel then. So I went and knocked on Mel's door on the Friday after training and said, Mel, I'm really sorry, I can't play. And he was brilliant about it. Because he knew what I was like. I would have played for anything, but I just couldn't play. And on the coach on the coach on the way to training, Steve said, just give it one more go. He said, come here and I'll try and crack your back in. It might be just that.
Oh.
Yeah, it wasn't.
Ah.
Yeah, it wasn't. No. So that was the start of it, actually.
Yeah, because I did read somewhere. I found an old BBC article somewhere, and I think you were quoted in saying that you didn't want to have an operation on the injury. Is that right? Or
no? So I had the injury when I was younger. I was about 12. Someone kicked me onto a post, and long story short, went to Harley Street to have the operation. Was getting wheeled down to the theatre, and my mum was sort of in the hallway, and as they wheeled me past her, she sort of stopped the bed and said, what's this? This is not my son's name. So they had a different name on the bed. So it wasn't actually my name they had on the bed. So they cancelled the operation. So they had to cancel the operation to find out what was going on, why, I had a different name on my bed.
That could have ended up a whole lot different, couldn't it?
Yeah. Wow. So lucky my mum was there. But a couple of weeks later, got a letter from the hospital, and they said, you don't need an operation. And I was,
right. Okay.
I was only young. I think I was only 12 or 13. So I can't remember the gist of it. But in the end, I didn't have the operation. But having the accident in the car park was what brought it back on again.
Wow. Okay. So the time at Dean Court obviously, came to an end. Was it about a year after that? Was it? I think.
Yeah. Well, the thing was, you see, we played Colchester in a league game, and it was international week. And if you had 3 or more players playing for the countries, you could get the game postponed.
Yeah.
We only had 2. We had Steve Robinson, who was with Northern Ireland under 21s, and Richard Hughes was with Scotland under 21s.
Right.
And I was on the team sheet, I thought I was fit again, went out to do the warm-up, and my back went again. And so I went into the change room. I said to Mel, I'm really sorry, my back's gone. It's gone. And I'll do Mel's voice again. He said, oh, son, he said, I need you. And I went, Mel, my back, I can't play. He said, son, come on. I've got no players. Come on. And he said, look, he was on crutches because he was having a hip replacement.
Right, yeah.
Or knee replacement. And he said to me, look, I've got these painkillers. They're brilliant. He said, have a couple of these. And I'd already taken 2 anti-inflammatories and Nurofen to, try and go out there and play. And so he gave me 2 of his painkillers. And so anyway, I went out there after about 10 minutes, thought, can't feel anything. So, I got through the game, didn't feel a thing, couldn't get out of bed the next morning. And then basically didn't play for, 5-6 months after that.
And that was that, were you at the end of your contract that year, or was it a case
I still had 2 years left on my contract after that.
So was it yourself that had to call time on it? And
well, yes and no, because I'd been injured for so long, because I kept sort of breaking down, getting back, breaking down. And then Mel says to me, look, your last chance, go to Lillyshaw. So I went to Lillyshaw for a week to see what they could do. And was there, got the best physio treatment. They were brilliant. And then second to last day we were there, we were playing head tennis again. But on the floor, we was all like sort of sitting on the floor, and you had to sort of, head the ball. And ball came to me. I went to head it, sort of, as you do. And then I must have my back went again. So went back to the club a couple of days early, went to see Mel. He said to me, look, you're done, basically. I could have stayed there and, for the next 2 years, picked up my money, but it was killing me. My back was. I'd had like, I don't know, 10 injections up at London Bridge Hospital, trying to, you know, had this new injection out that called sclerosing injections or something. They stuck a needle in me. They were literally, honestly, about 12 inches long. These needles, they were huge, and I had loads of those, and yeah, they didn't work. So I thought, you know, just spoke with my wife Emma, and we just agreed it was best I retired.
But you did have a bit of a stint in non-league again. Was it at Brockenhurst? Is that right? Or
so after I finished, I didn't do anything for a while after I finished. And so basically it helped my back. I mean, it didn't cure it, but I could play football again. So basically, if we'd have had decent physios, Matt, I probably would have carried on playing. If someone would have just said to me, you need to rest, because that's all I needed was rest. But I had physio, you know, trying to get back play, you know, doing this and doing that, and nothing was working. But I just needed a decent physio to just say to me, look, you just need to rest for a couple of months, and then I probably would have been all right. But yeah, so, you know, it cleared up, and I went to play for New Milton, Lymington, Brockenhurst. Yeah.
So I believe your testimonial, you had a testimonial game, didn't you? I think it was 2004, was it? I think it was.
Yeah, 2004, yeah.
I mean, how did the testimonial come about? Because I think there was like quite a few teams' names bashed about, like Celtic.
Yes, you're right.
States, even United, I think, because Machin, he had contacts with Fergie, didn't he?
Yeah.
You know, how did it materialise in you know, to become just a Wembley versus Bournemouth select 11?
So what happened was, when I retired, obviously I still had 2 months on my contract, and me being naive, stupid, whatever it is, when I negotiated my end of the contract to end my contract, I stupidly signed. I phoned up the PFA first and said to them, look, this is what they've offered me. Should I take it? They said, yeah, that's brilliant. So what they did was they gave me 6 months money, which was 30 grand and plus 10. So they give me 40 grand. But because I still had a 120 grand contract, they said to me, look, you've got 40. We'll guarantee you at least 50 grand from the game. So I said, okay, then who's going to be the game? Mel said, I'll get you Man United. So I thought, well, if we get Man United, I'm going to get a full house. I'll probably get the 50 grand that I'm promised. I'm owed 80, but I would settle for 50. And so, a couple of months down, waiting for the game, went in to see the club, and they said, look, John, we're really sorry, but we're really struggling money-wise at the moment, and time, blah, blah, blah. And I said, okay, then I want my money, because you promised me if we didn't play it, you'd give me the money. I want my money. They said, look, John, we haven't got it, but what we will do for you, each month, we'll give you £800. So we'll give you £800 a month, just as a goodwill gesture that you're not going through with the PFA, getting the money, blah, blah, blah. And that £800 won't come off the 50 grand we owe you.
Right.
So I thought, okay, then. So basically I thought, well, I'm just going to let it go. 8-9 months. I went back in there, said, what's going on? Can't get Man United. We'll get Celtic. And I was like, because at the time, Peter Grant was there.
Oh, yeah, of course.
And Peter Grant said, I'll get you Celtic. And I thought, brilliant. That'll get me the 50 grand again, I thought. And then, long story short, after about 5 or 6 teams, basically they said, we can't get you anyone. You're going to have to do it all yourself. So I managed to obviously get the 11 against the 11 that were there when Sean was manager. and got a crowd of about, I don't know, 2,300, and that generated £12,000. So there was a shortfall of 38,000 that they guaranteed me they would get me, and then they said, yeah, we're you'll get it, blah blah blah. In the meantime, we'll carry on paying you the £800, and it won't come out of your money. So I thought, brilliant, that's brilliant. Club of looking after me, and then got married in June 03, and then in July we moved house, and I was literally here a week, and I got a letter through the door from Bournemouth saying, you're not getting your money, you've had it. All that £800 you've had, we're taking it out of the money we owe you. So I was not happy. Went to the PFA, and they never helped me out. Yeah, so I was devastated because 50 grand. I just knocked down 2/3 of my house waiting for the money to build it up again. So, but saying that, the PFA, I can't remember who was in. He got the sack from there in the end. He was horrible to me. He was, but in the end, after everything that happened, the PFA were really good to me. When my wife was ill, they really helped me out. Yeah.
So I didn't actually know that that you had all that trouble with all that.
Yeah.
At the end of the time at the club, but
I did get it back. I did get Eddie was manager, and my wife was ill, and we needed money to go to Germany. And we needed, funny enough, 28 grand, and it was 28 grand the club owed me. Oh. So I messaged the club, asked to speak to Eddie. So I went in and had a chat with Eddie, and he said to me, John, I said to him, look, they owe me money. Is there any chance you can get them to give me the money now? And he said, John, we just can't do that. It's just something I couldn't do. He said, but what I could do for you, he said, I've never done it before, but I could do a question and answer night for you and see if that helps you out. And funny enough, that got me £28,000. So we did a question and answer one night. So I got me money in the end, but it was only through Eddie I got it. It was only, that was the only reason I got the money.
Yeah, I didn't know you went through all that. The end there, but obviously, I'm going to round it up because obviously I know you've got the lad to go and watch, and just a couple of questions, if that's okay, very quickly. Yeah. Since leaving the club, obviously they've been on this amazing rise. I mean, what do you make of the rise of the club over the last sort of 15 years?
Eddie Howe. Everyone's got to thank Eddie Howe for that. I mean, without Eddie, this club would probably have been doomed. Yeah. I mean, if they did go to the conference and they did get back, I don't know where we'd be without Eddie, to be honest with you. I mean, we are here today because of him. There's no two ways about it. I mean, it's unbelievable, really, when you think about it. And a lot of people don't think about it, actually. There's a lot of supporters these days are going, oh, we should be doing this and we should be doing that. We should be getting this stadium. We should. Can't get. We need to be careful because look at the clubs that are not in the Premier League now. Bigger, much bigger clubs than Bournemouth. Got Leeds. I mean, Sheffield United, Sheffield Wednesday, Preston, all those massive clubs. I think we just got to take it now and just enjoy it. Just enjoy it, because it can all just come crashing down just like that, and we could be back, where we started, which is not a nice place.
No, I don't think any of us. I mean, especially those of us that supported the club throughout the years, definitely don't want to end up going back down the divisions. But just one last one. I'll wrap up with you, and thanks for coming on, John. It's been great to speak to you. Do you think we're going to see AFC Bournemouth in Europe anytime soon?
Oh, do you know what? I'm doing a bit of work for someone at the moment, and he's away for the Tottenham Bournemouth game, so he's let me have his tickets. And they're in the Bournemouth end, actually.
Oh, excellent!
Hopefully, I might just wear a little hat and scarf and pretend I'm up there. But I spoke to him and I said to him, "Would you if they?" Sorry, that's my Alexa. He said to me about the Europe thing, and I went, oh, "Could you imagine?" I said, "Would you go?" He said, "I'd go everywhere." And I said, "Do you know what? I probably would as well, actually." I mean, you'd have to, wouldn't you? I mean, I reckon I reckon you'd fill up everywhere if Bournemouth got there.
Yeah, no, I totally agree. I think it'd be a massive European tour, wouldn't it? From little old Bournemouth.
Brilliant, wouldn't it?
Yeah, let's fingers crossed, and hopefully we'll be able to achieve it at the end of the season. But do you know which stand you'll be in for that game?
What, for the Bournemouth Tottenham?
Yeah.
I'll be in the away end. I don't know what. I think there's only one.
Oh, you're in the away end. Sorry,
I'm in the Bournemouth end. Yeah.
Oh, you're in the Bournemouth end.
Yeah.
Is it the north stand or the main?
Do you know what? I really don't know.
Right. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Well,
but if you see someone jumping up and down when Tottenham score, it's me.
Yeah, I'll keep an eye out for someone.
I'll get on someone's shoulders and have a little wave.
Yeah, no, definitely. Well, John, it's been great to speak to you.
Thank you for having me.
And it's been great to go through your time at Bournemouth, and hopefully we'll be able to maybe do something with you again in the future. But thanks for joining us.
No, my pleasure. Thank you very much.
No, excellent. And a big thank you there to John Bailey for joining us for that interview. It was a real good insight into his time at Bournemouth and obviously scoring that goal at Wembley. But please hit the like, the subscribe and the bell below. It helps the channel to grow. And don't forget, we've got plenty of other player interviews on the channel, including Carl Broadhurst, Danny Thomas, Warren Feeney, Steve Fletcher, of course, who else? And also some of the players from the Premier League era, in the likes of Charlie Daniels and Steve Cook. So do check out the channel for those interviews. But until the next time, up the cherries, and see you in the next one.
The TalkSport Fan Network.
The ultimate on-demand destination for the UK's best fan-led football podcasts.
Want authentic supporter insight on all things Bournemouth? Follow Up the Cherries in all departments on the TalkSport Fan Network.
Club-dedicated content created by the fans, for the fans.
Search TalkSport Fan Network.